So welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites, our third one in the series with Pierre. Pierre, if you didn't know, is the, I should be able to have this memorized by now, the founder of People-OnTheGo, strong focus on leadership, creativity, innovation, and mindfulness. And I'm sure you'll figure that out within the first 5 seconds of hearing him speak. So this week's topic is on the compass for navigating change, mindfulness being the compass for navigating change. The quote we're going to kick us off with is mindfulness is your inner GPS, your TomTom or your Garmin, if you will, for navigating change, helping you stay on the path of purpose and progress. So when I see this, I have to laugh as far as a GPS and explain to some people maybe what that is. But for me, it's Waze everywhere I go now. But I think if we can have this space that we're in for mindfulness, and I'm gonna give an example with Waze. If we're in this space with mindfulness, we can let go of some of the worry, the stress, the angst around some other things, and be able to be open with clarity around the other signals that we're getting. And here's the example I'll give you with Waze. And you may think I'm freaking nuts, but this happens every time. I don't care if I know exactly where I'm going. Every single time I get in the car, I have Waze on. I set Waze up with where I'm going because Waze, in my GPS, will reroute me if for some reason there's stuff ahead. And that frees me up to be in the moment and pay attention to everything that's going around me because I know with certainty that I know when it's projecting that I'm going to arrive, so I don't have angst about that. Remember, before I'd be driving, you're like, oh my God, am I going to be late? Am I going to be late? Am I going to be? I can see. And then I also know that if stuff's ahead, I'm going to reroute and have the best route possible. So I'm literally in the moment and not having to worry about any of that other stuff. So Pierre, welcome to the conversation. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I'm so happy to be in session 3. So those of you who haven't heard our first 2 conversations would love to get your thoughts on them. Maybe you can comment on them. So yes, so the example you gave is a great one. And it is really, if we look behind the scene, is centered around certainty and uncertainty. Without Waze, in your example, Michelle, and without this ability to reroute and adjust based on what's happening, there is a lot of uncertainty, and that's what change brings. So whenever we deal with change, all kinds of changes, the smallest change, the biggest organizational change, it all brings a lot of uncertainty. And our nervous system is trained, or it has this habit of perceiving uncertainty as being a threat. And therefore going into that fight or flight or freeze response, and feeling that stress kicking in, all those stress hormones. And then what happens after that, we get into this idea that, oh, we shouldn't be stressed. So we give ourselves hard time about being stressed. And we get into this vicious cycle of, I'm stressed, I shouldn't be stressed. Now I'm stressed about being stressed, about being stressed. So it just can become really difficult to manage. So mindfulness is basically what can put a stop to that cycle. And it starts with befriending whatever those unpleasant feelings and thoughts that are coming up. So instead of fighting them and telling ourselves we shouldn't be having them, it's actually an expression we use is bowing to them, like treating them with respect. Like the reason those are coming up, there's a lot of conditioning behind the scene. There might be some hurt, some unmet needs, some just habits developing over time. So just coming to terms that right now, this is what's coming up, and I'm going to be more at peace with it. And I'm going to treat myself with kindness and compassion, those words that come up often. And what that does, that stops that cycle of escalation. And now I can be in a situation to go back to looking, what is this change about? What's going on in that change? And is there something I can respond to more wisely? Can I take action? So yeah, I think this is what needs to happen during that change period where all these emotions are flying and we tend to really overreact and take it to a whole level, while we can actually de-escalate and feel more confident about moving forward.
Yeah, it's so people are gonna laugh. When I was growing up, there was a show called Lost in Space, and it had this robot on it. It was just a hokey little robot. And so in my head was, "Morning, Will Robinson, morning," right? So our inner gut, when change is happening, any kind of change to your point, I mean, any change, we start to go into this fight or flight freak out mode, right? Because we're going to rebel against any change because the brain wants consistency, whatever the routine is, whatever the habit is, whatever. And so this can be the best thing since sliced bread. But it's change. It requires us to be now really intentional about what we do. We're not going into heuristic brain of things automatically being connected, to where when you got in your car from work and you drove home and you got home and you're like, God, I don't even remember turning or driving. Okay. Because all the mapping is already there, all the wiring is already there. So change sets us up for this. We have this automatic, to your point, response of freak out. And I think part of it with mindfulness, like you said, is to honor, respect, and I think it's to hear whatever you're really feeling about this. Because as a leader, depending on what level of the organization you're in, and you may or may not have direct reports, you may be expected to manage up, which is you need to wrap your brain around this change. You need to navigate through your own little ad card journey, which is awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement before you get in front of the people that report to you, right? Because you can't go in all freaked out going, oh, I don't know what they're doing now. Here they go again.
Yeah.
And so I think part of that, what you're talking about is mindfulness to say, hey, let me get grounded. Let me understand, really understand. Let me honor and say, okay, I'm a little freaked out about this right now. And I'm a little freaked out about it because I really don't know the answers to this question, this question, and this question. Okay, great. Mindfulness will help me get clarity around those things that are missing so that I can go back and say, you know what, let me find out that stuff. I'm not expected to automatically have a data dump that I know everything about what's happening so that I can turn around and manage it to the people that report to me. But to your point, if we're in this stage, this freak out space, we're literally reacting as if a hungry tiger is chasing us. Okay. So the only thing that we're going to do is get away from the tiger. We're not going to sit down and critically think, wait a minute, I'm in my house. There's probably not a hungry tiger. There's not any of that. But when we get into that mindful space, we can get rid of the noise and be able to honor and respect real feelings, be able to have conversations with our mind to say, okay, that's not real. The odds of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. So what's the stuff that I really need to focus on right now? So that's where my brain went.
Yes, very, very nicely articulated, Michelle. And this is the core of it, is this what I'm calling befriending, which you can call it whatever works.
Yeah.
That feeling, that unpleasant feeling, whatever all these emotions that come up and all the thoughts, I should be this way, I didn't do that, all those, judgmental, self-judgment thoughts. So befriending them is not that easy. Kind of like what we talked in our first episode 3 weeks ago about being present. Like, it's so easy to say, yeah, be present. Well, it takes a lot of practice, time after time, to feel what being present feels like. And the same with befriending the unpleasant emotions. Yeah, it sounds easy, and or it sounds sometimes superficial. Like, what does that even mean? But when you sit with that emotion and focus on it and really try to see, where is it? Where is it in my body right now? Where do I feel it? What does it feel like? And being with it for during that time period that is the practice.
Mhm.
And that is that time after time after time, it can lead us to that more ongoing ability to notice it and not get triggered by it as
Mhm.
much. And even if we do get triggered, which will happen, we notice that and we also embrace that. Again, we don't give
Mhm.
ourselves hard time like, oh, I thought you got this. You shouldn't be triggered anymore. So we notice that and we also do the same thing. We make room for this. We befriend that being triggered.
Mhm.
And then that's what calms down the nervous system and allows us to go back to the situation. And the two questions typically I interject there: what's happening right now? Can I be with it?
Oh.
And that can help us. Like, we probably can be with it. There's very few things in life we cannot be with, but
Mhm.
probably 95% of things we can be with. So that can help put things in perspective. And then the next two questions is, what's needed right now? How
Mhm.
can I contribute? So
Mm.
moving us into the action part.
Yeah.
So first is the calming down, and then moving into, is there something to do? And sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. All I need is
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go.
I love that. And I love the whole idea because I'm a huge fan of questions. And it gives our brains something to focus on
Mm,
and a direction to go in. Because I think back to, I think it's Vital Smarts, Crucial Conversations. Because when you start to go, where am I feeling this thing, right? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? It's important. It's so interesting to me how many people, when I ask them, when you get emotionally charged, okay, where do you feel it? What? Where in your body do you feel it? And it takes people a minute if they haven't paid attention to that, where it starts, right? Because I think that's the key is catch it before your brain gets hijacked.
mm,
So that I'm going to find it back here of, oh, I'm starting to, what's going on right now, right? And so to your point with the questions that I love, the questions that I've done before is, what story do I have going right now? Right?
mm,
Because I'm getting emotionally charged and worked up over something, right? Maybe it's in my gut, maybe it's in my throat, somewhere I start to feel it, but I need it before the tiger appears, right? And then I can get a grip and start to unpack it and ask more questions that move me forward, right? Like, what else could it be besides this story that I'm lying to myself about, right? What else could it be to where I can get myself to where I'm calm again? To your point with mindfulness, to where now my creative brain is working, and I'm not in survivor brain running out, running away from the tiger. I love all that stuff because this gives us as leaders the capability of making better decisions and creating better moments for every single person that's with us, including us. Because when you're in that fight or flight space, you're aging your body. So anyway, I freaking love it. I love it. So Pierre, what are one or two things that you want to wrap up this three-part series for people to walk away with around mindfulness and just the value of it from a human leader perspective?
yeah. I think I may have mentioned some of this, Michelle, in the first two sessions, but it's so important to reinforce that and to bring it to the forefront. And that is that just like leadership is a journey, mindfulness is a journey that
Mhm.
can completely enrich and transform the leadership journey. So
Mhm.
taking it on as a journey, um, and treating it with kindness. So this is
Mhm.
not about, mindfulness doesn't work like a project. It's not something we start, we finish, we're done, and we do it successfully. It's much more about reconnecting with ourselves, getting to know ourselves, getting to know people around us in a new light,
Mhm.
and as we do that, becoming much more able to have skillful means
Mhm.
to deal with problems and fear, and whether the problems are business related or they are people related. So we start to have this nice balance So yeah, so it's back to it's taking on that journey, and I would say if we want to also leave with a few simpler things from today's conversation, to be the questions. So the question is, what am I experiencing right now? Can I be with it? And then the next question could be, what's needed right now, and how can I contribute?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's sometimes it's those simple ways of reflecting can really change the direction and change how we feel and can create a different outcome.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love it. Yes, and yeah, again, heading. I think the other thing is that I'll say, and I'll go back to Margie Hagney, is what's a little bit better look like. Don't set yourself up to fail. You know, just start, and start with the intention not to stop. Right. So what does that look like to ramp up and become more skilled with it? Be comfortable being uncomfortable, because there's a lot of leaders that just saying the word mindfulness feels weird, right? Embrace it. Just embrace it and realize that you're going to make connections that you never thought possible, with yourself and what you're feeling, and it will translate 100% to everyone who's in the room with you. So Pierre, I thank you for your time, your expertise, the opportunity for me selfishly to be in the room with you again, sir. Until next time, this has been Leadership Soundbites. Please like, share, subscribe. Have an awesome frickin' day. Thank you.